Hello, everybody. I hope you're all relaxed and all settled up after a week's break, and I hope you're ready to get into yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over UFC Vegas 44 Font versus Aldo. Zafra mentioned we had a week off, kind of relax, refuel a little bit. We're in store for about 3 or 4 weeks of action and then a long 3 week break. I know we're going to go through some withdrawal there. At least we'll have Christmas and the NFL playoffs and such to preoccupy ourselves. And then we jump right back into it because there is no off season. This 3 weeks that's coming up is probably going to be the biggest break of the year. So be ready, enjoy the break, and let's make some Christmas money before then. So again, we have nothing to go over from last week since there was no event. So we're going to hop right into this week's event, and it's a pretty good card. In all honesty, it's not a lot of huge name value, but a lot of good fights for hardcore fans. So let's go ahead and we're going to actually get this started off with the first fight of the night. You have Louis Smolka at minus 140 going up against Vince Morales plus 110. Over 2.5 is minus 150. Under 2.5 is plus 120. Let's start with the first favorite of the night. We got Louis Smolka. This dude is he's pretty good on the feet. He's not the greatest. He does have a little bit of pillow fist, but he's not bad. He's slick. He knows what's going on there. His cardio, he does slow. Again, there's a difference between gassing and there's slowing. He just slows a little bit. He obviously has some scale issues, predominantly at flyweight. This fight is at bantamweight. His last fight against Jose Quinones was at bantamweight. He seemed to fit in just fine there. He obviously has some scale problems, though. He also has some mental problems in regards to, his addiction and such that he's very, very vocal about. All credit in the world to him. It seems like he's getting it under control. Because it was a scale of two fighters. You never knew who you were going to get. You didn't know if you were going to get the motivated Louis Smolka that can go out there and armbar Sue Maduri in the first round or second round, or you get the guy that goes in there and gets triangled by Matt Schnell in the first round. You never know which one you're going to get, but he seems to have cleaned up his act. Again, good striking, just doesn't hit too hard. He has good ground game, and his wrestling's okay. It's not the greatest, in all honesty. But after a while, he'll shoot enough to where he'll get you down if he wants you down. Depends on who he's fighting. The problem is who he's fighting. We have Vince Morales here. He's pretty good striking as well. He's kind of the same. I would say it's 50-50 on the feet. I would say that Smolka has the quantity and Vince has the quality. It's really just going to be power versus the volume here. And that's going to be the case for a plethora of these fights, in all honesty. Morales has really good wrestling, but he never uses it. He's like a high school state champ who never shoots takedowns in the UFC. I hate people that do that. People that are wrestlers and only want to strike or whatever, things of that magnitude. I do not like that whatsoever. His cardio's okay. It's not good or bad. It's there. He's in the fight. It's a little better than Smolka's. I'll give Morales the cardio advantage. He is a little hittable. He pretty much gets the amount that he dishes out. And so that's a little concerning, but he is durable. Looking at the guy, you can finish him. Chris Gutierrez leg kicked him to shit. Like, it happens. Chris Gutierrez has nasty leg kicks. That's where he was known for it, really, after that fight, stopping him with leg kicks. Benito Lopez going to take him out. Song Yadong's a really, really tough fighter. Just took out Julio Arce. That's not an easy feat to do. But he was able to survive there. Domingo Plarte choked him out, but it's not like you're going to go out there and knock him out. So Smolka has 2 routes to victory, which is just decision and submission. Morales, again, Smolka doesn't really get finished unless he's not all the way mentally there. And even then, you're not knocking him out. He's never been knocked out. He gets submitted. So what I look at is one tough-ass Mexican dude going against one tough-ass Hawaiian. Neither one are probably going to get knocked out. I think their wrestling is going to cancel out. I think their striking is literally volume versus power. So I don't know how the judges are going to see this. And that's the main point here. I think this is going to go to a judge's decision. I am all over the total here. I don't think either guy is going to be able to finish the other. I think it's going to predominantly happen on the feet. And at that point, you're flipping a coin. Generally, when I don't know and it's 50-50, I just take the plus money on the dog. But there is one deciding factor I also look at, which is where people are training. And it looks like for this fight, Luis Smolka is at my favorite camp, Fight Ready. All they do is grab these middle tier guys and then mold them into just absolute animals. Looking at, like, I thought Zhang Weili won the second fight against Rose. I really did. I look at Eric Anders coming in on a win streak. I look at Leon Edwards. I look at all these people that are good, but then just needed a little bit of boost to hit that next level, and it seems to work every single time. Henry Cejudo is probably the most synonymous. He was good. He was always good, but when he went to Fight Ready, all of a sudden he turned into Triple C. Like, there are levels to the game. There's levels to what Eddie Cha and them do over there at Fight Ready, and I think Luis Smolka is another guy that has all the tools that they can help him mentally and finally push him over the edge. So I will take Smolka here as a pick, but as a bet, minus 140 is not bad on him. But on a 50-50 fight, I don't see either one finishing each other. I think this wrestling is going to get canceled out. I'll just take the over. I think this goes to the distance. And in all honesty, minus 150 at the over 2.5 is the same thing as taking Smolka straight up. So just give me both of them to take the over 2.5, baby. All right. Then the next fight of the night, it's a very, very interesting one. We have, God bless me with the name, Azmat Mirzakhanov going up against Jared Vanderaa. I didn't get the over-under because Jared is a late replacement here. Now, Azmat was originally supposed to fight Marcin Prachnio, and I had him killing Prachnio. I love Prachnio, don't get me wrong. I'm probably the only Prachnio fan that exists in North America. But I didn't like the matchup for him. I'm not stupid at the same time. But Prachnio backed out. And then we ended up getting Felipe Lens was supposed to fight. And what a shocker. Felipe Lens didn't make it to the fight. What a surprise. So Felipe was out. So now he's taking this fight at heavyweight against Jared Vanderaa. And it's just concerning to me because there is talk of Azmat going down to middleweight, but he's going the opposite direction here. And he's going from light heavyweight to heavyweight. I mean, he has good striking. He has really good power. He's very elusive, very light on his feet. I like the way the guy fights. He's no spring chicken. He's making his UFC debut at the age of 35. He's a Contender Series guy, which does concern us a little bit, but it seems like the older Contender Series guys can slide right in. These Chase Hoopers and other people of the world that come in super young and super green, yeah, they struggle a little bit. The Gloria DePaulas and people like that. But these seasoned guys that have been here before, the Chris Curtises, the Asmus, oh God, who's the Russian dude that just fought? His face was blown up. God, he fought that newcomer. I can't even think of it. The Russian dude that called out Izzy like he was crazy. It's just, there's levels when you're a little bit older there. So I think he does fit that just niche itself as being an older guy coming in. His cardio is a little concerning. He does slow down a little bit, and most of his wins are first round finishes. I mean, he's 10-0 and he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 first round finishes. He does have a decision on there, which makes me a little more comfortable. He has 2 decisions on there, which is nice. And one was as recent as 2019, so 2 years ago. But 8 out of 10 being finished in the first round, it's not the greatest look, especially because he's very low volume. He does not throw a ton. Everything he throws is to put you out. I don't know. In all honesty, the kid's good. I like him a lot. And then I look at it's just talent, man. You look at Vanderaa, he's not the greatest. Azmat's clearly the better fighter. But in retrospect, size matters in MMA. I mean, just ask Lupita Godinez. She was clearly the better fighter, but when you give up all of that weight, I mean, she probably had like 30 pounds. She was giving up 30 pounds on fight night. It's just not going to happen. Like she tried to wrestle her and she just couldn't. She was just too big. So I get scared of the same thing, especially because Vanderaa is pretty high volume as well. That's another aspect where he can win. So if Azmat doesn't take him out early in the first round and Jared's still hanging around for heavyweight, his cardio's okay. He does slow. But again, I want to emphasize the difference between slowing and gassing. Vanderaa slows a little bit. His jiu-jitsu is questionable. Alexander Romanov, I love that guy. That's probably my favorite heavyweight in the UFC. He was able to take him down like 5 times and beat the shit out of him. Sergey Spivak, I'm not the biggest fan of, but Sergey was able to take him down and beat the shit out of him. You see a common theme here. When he goes down to the ground, he's getting triangled. Like, it's just not really a good look. Kimura, he has some problems on the ground. That's where he struggles. And his wrestling's not the greatest. Asmat's wrestling, he's a Russian that strikes. Instead, I like my Russians to wrestle personally, but he does have it in his back pocket. He can do it if he wants to do it. So I don't want him to do it, though, because if you wrestle someone 40 pounds heavier than you, that's going to gas you out even more. And you already have a questionable gas tank. So I would just go ahead and, with the odds being what they are, minus 240 for Amzat, plus 200 on Vandera. I was tempted to take a shot on Jared. I know a lot of people are taking the shot on Jared, but Cody Safdie and Paul Shaughnessy had brought up a very, very good point on the Dogger Pass podcast, where Asmat has fought in some open weight competitions. So this is not his first stint at heavyweight. It's something he's used to. Lupita doesn't generally fight at 135 or 125 when she went up. She went up against one of the biggest girls, Luana, in that weight class. Jared does tip the scale, but Asmat's fought and beat people that are like 250 and things of that magnitude. So if this was his first time going up to heavyweight, I'd be very concerned. The fact that he has some open weight just fights themselves does kind of put me a little bit more at ease. So I will take Asmat as the pick. In regards to the bet itself, I guess I'll have to take him, but he could blow up some parlays. Just be very, very careful with Asmat, but I'm not feeling the Jared love that everyone else is. All right, then the next fight of the night, it's another sketchy one, man. We have Chris Grootsmocker at minus 125 going up against Claudio Puelles at minus 105. Over 2.5 set at minus 190, under 2.5 at plus 150. Let's start with Claudio. He's young. The first thing I think of when I see him is young. He came to the UFC way too early. This dude was not ready. He was getting the shit kicked out of him by Felipe Silva, and he just caught him with a knee bar. He got gifted that. Martin Bravo beat the absolute shit out of him and KO'd him. Like, this was 2016 he made his his UFC debut. The kid's 25. That was 5 years ago. The kid was 20 years old fighting grown men in the UFC. He was not ready. But you see improvements every fight. And that's the scary part. The dude is great jiu-jitsu. Their age has nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. If you're good, you're good. And this dude is a stud on the ground. His striking is where he could improve a little. And he is. You're seeing it. You saw it in the Jordan Levitt fight. I mean, he's so young, and these young kids, you get him in a good camp and you'll see constant improvement. He is a little hittable. Like, he gets hit more than he dishes out, so that's a little concerning. In his wrestling, if he wants to get the jiu-jitsu going, like, he can wrestle, but it's not his strong suit. He's one of these jiu-jitsu guys that they're just not the greatest wrestlers. He's okay. I mean, he's a good counter wrestler, but his offensive wrestling, maybe that's something he's working on. He does have a 4-inch reach advantage in this fight, which will definitely help him if it ends up being a stand-up fight. And that's really where Chris Grootsmocker wants it. Chris is not good. I can't stand Chris. He's never been good. You look at his strength of schedule. Yeah, he's beaten some okay people. He beat a lot of UFC vets before making it to the UFC, but when you look at his Ultimate Fighter UFC run, I mean, the dude lost to Artem Lobov, got knocked out by him. Not the greatest luck. Artem's also like at featherweight and bare knuckle boxing, like not the greatest luck. Chaz Skelly's good, no shame there, but he beat Abner, and Abner's not in the UFC. He lost to Davi Ramos. Davi Ramos is pretty good, but he beat Joe Lozon. Joe Lozon was like 80 years old at that point. I mean, he lost to Alexander Hernandez, and Hernandez isn't the worst. Getting knocked out by Alexander Hernandez in a minute and 40 seconds the way he did was not a good look. And then he beats Rafa Garcia. Rafa Garcia is not bad, but I do think he's a little overhyped coming in, short notice, fighting Nazareth. Yeah, he looked good there, but it's not like he came in and he fought freaking Michael Chandler and looked good in a loss. He fought Nazareth. There's a difference. So yeah, he looked okay. Yeah, he kind of shit the bed against Chris. Chris took advantage because Chris is a grinder, man. This dude knows he doesn't have great striking. He's not that good of a wrestler, and he's not good on the ground. he just has heart, and he's just going to keep going at you. He has high volume, and you'd think he'd be one of these like zombie guys that just walk towards you. And he is, but he doesn't have the chin to do it. He keeps getting rocked. He keeps getting knocked out and clubbing some. Like, he doesn't have the best chin for the fight style he has. But if you can't put him out, and Claudio doesn't exactly have like knockout power, so this does feel like someone Chris can just walk through and take advantage of. I mean, this is, again, a 25-year-old kid going against a 35-year-old grown man. American Top Team, great camp. Samford is where Claudio's at. That's a great camp for a young kid to be at. So this fight petrifies me. I don't know what to do with it. If I had to absolutely make a pick, it would be Chris. What I would probably bet is the over, because Claudio's never been knocked out. Chris is not going to sub this kid. So if he is going to win, he's going to, or Claudio has been knocked out. Martin Bravo knocked him out, but Chris doesn't pack that much power. He's like a break you type of knockout guy. So I think that Claudio can at least survive 2.5 rounds. And if Claudio wins, he doesn't have knockout power. So I think Chris will be able to survive. So if I had to make a pick, it'd be Chris. But in regards to a bet, I'd either stay away or just take the over and just try to rely on both these guys to be durable enough to make it, because I can't, it's too close to call. All right, and then the next fight of the night, we finally have it. The battle for the most jacked guy in the light heavyweight division history. We have William Knight as a plus 140 dog going up against Alonzo Menafield at minus 175. And yeah, you talk about how jacked they are, so you know that over-under is set at 1.5, baby. We got over 1.5 at minus 155, under 1.5 at plus 125. This fight would be a lot different. I'd be a lot more confident if this fight happened like 2 years ago. And Alonzo Menafield is the reason. Alonzo Menafield was a killer. This dude came in and would knock you out in the first round. He would have no hesitation. He felt invincible. He was undefeated. He trains at a good camp in Fortis. He would come in and just start guys. I mean, look at his fucking record. You have round 30-second KO, 22-second KO, 4-minute KO, 5-minute doctor stoppage, 30 seconds into the second round KO, rear naked choke. You go, Alonzo. First round, ground and pound, 8 seconds. Then ECS red. Then he comes into the UFC. 3-minute 56 seconds to get a KO. 3-minute and 19 seconds to knock out Paul Craig. That's a good win. Paul Craig, I mean, not the greatest chin, but a good fighter. Paul Craig's decent. He's all right. Great on the ground, but didn't have to experience that because he knocked him out in the first 3 minutes. And then he ran into Devin Clark, and he came in and he beat the shit out of Devin Clark, but Devin Clark was still there. And that was a problem because he gassed himself out and he had nothing left to offer. Alonzo Menafield is the better striker. Alonzo Menafield has really, really, really freaking good takedown defense. But Alonzo Menafield was gassed, and Devin Clark wore on him. He did a little rope-a-dope action, and Alonzo beat the shit out of him and then had nothing left to offer. And Devin Clark was still there, and he got that decision win. And that scared Alonzo Menafield. The next fight against OSP, Alonzo Menafield did not come out and blitz anyone. He did not come out and bull rush and try to take your head off in the first 30 seconds. He sat back and relaxed, and he conserved his energy, and he did not look the same. That's not his fighting style. He is not a technical guy. He is a brawler. And if you take the brawl out of the brawler, you get fucking shit. You don't get anything. And that's what he offered us in that OSP fight. And OSP cold cocked him with like the minute left in the second round. Like that overhand took him out, took the lights out. So now you have this guy that used to blitz you, used to take your head off in the matter of seconds, who's scared to blow his load and is scared that he's going to get knocked out. And what do you get as a result? The fight against Ed Herman, because the Fabio Charant fight was short notice. He knew Fabio was ass. He came out, he actually got a takedown. That's not normal. It's not like he went out there and just blitzed him and then knocked his lights out. No, he came out aggressive and he took him down, and then Von Flue choked him. It was more like a, honestly, kind of like a forearm choke, honestly. But yeah, he gave him a, it was a Von Flue. He Von Flue choked him. And it's like, I don't know. It's just a weird circumstance. It's not a choke you see all the time unless it's an OSP fight. But then that takes you into the Ed Herman fight. And he looked good. He did look good. It's just not the way he generally fights. He was a little more hesitant, but Ed had nothing to fire back at him. He was not scared of Ed. He was not going to get knocked out by Ed by any means. So he was very, very blitzy. He would throw some heat and then sit and stare at you for a while, and then throw some heat and sit and stare at you for a while. For like 3 rounds, he incorporated leg kicks, and Ed could barely walk. So at that point, even though Alonzo was tired, Ed was a sitting duck. He was a non-moving target, so it wasn't the hardest to keep going. So if Ed's leg was a compromise like that, I don't know what would have happened, but it was smart on Alonzo's part to do so. It's just this new Alonzo that we've seen the last 4 fights. He's tapping people out with Von Flue chokes. He's going to decisions for the first time in his career. He's getting knocked out for the first time in his career, and he's gassing out after the first round. Those are his last 4 fights. So I don't really know what we're getting. I know what you're going to get with William Knight. He doesn't like being blitzed. He is the bully. He is a good hammer, not a good nail, and he really does hesitate. Do you want to talk about the knockout over Fabio Charant, common opponent? Fabio was winning. Alonzo came out and bullied Fabio. Fabio came out and tried to bully William Knight. God. I mean, Knight has decent power. His wrestling, I thought, was okay until the Da Loon Jung fight. Maybe his offensive wrestling is fine. His defensive wrestling, he needs to work on a little bit. His cardio is good. It is good, but he is kind of lower volume too, which is probably another reason his volume's okay. Again, he can be backed up. You can bull rush him. And the problem is he's been KO'd that way. Stefan Ejiku, I can never say his name, Ejikui, came out, blitzed him, and knocked him out in 2 minutes. The exact way Alonzo Menafield used to fight. So this new Alonzo, I don't know. And Knight does like to counter a little bit, and Alonzo usually initiates. So could he catch him with the counter clean? Absolutely. Could Alonzo come out, blitz him, and knock him out in a minute? Absolutely. Or are they both going to be hesitant? When you get these big bullies, you get the Thiago Silva versus Johnny Walker deal where they both respect each other's powers. You get the Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou where they both respect each other's power and they don't come out and blitz. If you get hesitant Alonzo and wanting to counter William, this thing is hitting the over, and it's set at 1.5. I would not be surprised if this fight goes the distance, in all honesty. So that's the way I'm going to take it. That long breakdown is going to be, I'm going to pick Alonzo to win the fight. But in regards to a bet, it sounds crazy. The 2 most jacked, powerful guys in the division are probably going to hit the over with it being set at 1.5. So I would bet the over in this instance. The next fight's sketchy. That's the only word I have for this is sketchy. We have Mallory Martin going at as a plus 155 dog going up against Cheyenne Vilsmus. Sorry, she just changed it. So Vilismas, formerly known as Cheyenne Buys. Over under set at 2.5. It's a women's MMA fight. So over 2.5 is minus 272. Under 2.5 is plus 212. Let's just start with Cheyenne. And that's why it's sketchy. Cheyenne is the better striker. She might be the better wrestler. She is the better wrestler, and she on the ground, I would say this is the only place Martin has her beat, but and not by a long shot. Cheyenne Buys is someone that Lismus is someone that the UFC wants to push. Let's get the elephant out of the room. Yes, she was formerly Cheyenne Bays because she was married to JP Bays. They have recently split, and so that's a mental block there. Another big red flag is the fact that she had COVID. In the interviews that she's giving, it was not a good battle with COVID. She's talking about how she couldn't breathe. She's talking about how her conditioning is weighed down. She was talking about how if she fought someone that day, she wouldn't have the conditioning to go all the way. And that was like 4 weeks ago. It was in November. It was not long ago. However, it has been a month, and the thing is, she's just such a superior fighter to Mallory Martin. She has good striking. She has high volume. 60% takedown defense is really just from Mazerat Ruiz head and arming her to death. Otherwise, she had like 100% takedown defense. She just couldn't stop one takedown. She could not stop that head and arm for whatever reason. But she generally has good cardio, so maybe her bad cardio just isn't the like unstoppable cardio she used to have. She's freakishly strong for the division. She's super strong. And again, her wrestling's okay. She's overall a well-rounded fighter. And the UFC wants to push her for obvious reasons. But that's why they're kind of giving her the Gloria de Paulas. They gave her Ruiz to just shit on, and Ruiz just decided not that night. But the thing is, she's crazy, and I like that for women's fighters, and they're nuts. She's confident, she's crazy. The warrior princess. Not the biggest fan of the name, but he's talking about meeting people outside in the parking lot. I think Ruiz spit on her is what was claimed, and she said she'll meet you at the parking lot and tried to fight her after the event. Like, she's nuts, and that's a good thing for women's MMA. I wanted to say she's one of the biggest locks of the card, but that COVID thing really scares me. So then I went over and I looked at the opposite side. How does Mallory Martin win this fight? The answer is she probably doesn't. Her striking is okay, but it's not the greatest. She does like to try to pressure you, and she is not going to be able to bully Cheyenne. Her jiu-jitsu is good. I will give it to her. She's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu brown belt. She is probably the better jiu-jitsu practitioner, but you have to take her down to utilize it, and I don't think she's taking Cheyenne down. She is very hittable. She gets hit more than she hits you, and she was getting rocked by people like Hannah Cyphers. That's very concerning. She got 10-8'd by Hannah Cyphers, who is one of the worst. Hannah Cyphers is just a little woman. She was not big enough for the weight class. It's the lowest weight class they have in the UFC, so she had to fight at that weight class. Kind of like Murata from 2 weeks ago. Like, they just can't help it. That's as low as I can get. She's at a good fight camp at Elevation. Her takedown defense is questionable herself. She just doesn't look good going backward. She has to be the bully. She cannot bully Cheyenne. She cannot take down Cheyenne. So that's a little bit of an issue. In all honesty, I'm kind of looking at this under at plus 212 and thinking I might get a little greasy because Cheyenne could literally bull rush this girl. If Hannah Cyphers can knock you out, I'm pretty sure Cheyenne can as well. And honestly, the biggest thing is, I mean, she was dating Deron Wynn. Once you have Wynn dick in you, you're not going to ever win a fight again in the UFC. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Cheyenne here. And I honestly think I'm going to have to make her a lock. This is underdog city, this card. And Cheyenne she wins this fight 90% of the time. It's just the COVID scares me and it drops it down to like 70 to 60. But I think at the all in all, talent wins out. And even if she doesn't have good conditioning, she can knock her out in the first round and it won't matter. So the pick is going to be Cheyenne. The bet is going to be Cheyenne. And I might sprinkle the under just to see. All right. And then next fight of the night. Here come all the dogs, baby. We got Jeremiah Wells, plus 160, going up against Jake Matthews at minus 205. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 140. Under 2.5 is plus 110. Let's start with Jake Matthews. I mean, I'm sorry if you hear any like dogs or my kids in the background. Generally, everyone's sleeping when I do this. Not tonight, so don't worry. I'm loud as shit. I'll be able to talk over him. With Jake Matthews, he's a young guy. It doesn't feel like he's 27 because he's been in the UFC for so goddamn long. He's been in the UFC since 2014. Really? He's been in the UFC for like almost 7 years. And he's 27. So he came in when he's like 20 years old. And that's why it doesn't feel like he's only 27. His striking was non-existent, but you see it progressively getting better and better and better, which is good for him. His wrestling is pretty good. It's very good. And his jiu-jitsu game is pretty good. It's really good, in all honesty. He is kind of slow. And I know he was predominantly a lightweight for a while when he was moving up to welterweight because it was just too much for him to cut down the lightweight. And I do say, per the Instagram, he is bigger. His problem at welterweight is that he was getting bullied. His last fight against Sean Brady literally just tossed him around like a rag doll. But otherwise, I mean, he looks a lot bigger this fight. He's starting to grow into that 170 frame. But he's just an overall generalist. There's nothing really wrong with him. But nothing great about him. He's just kind of decent at everything. Even his cardio, it's not the greatest. He slows. So literally every aspect of the MMA game, he's okay at. he's not great anywhere. He's just okay everywhere. So if you have someone that's a specialist like Sean Brady, who's just a great jiu-jitsu practitioner who tapped him out, or you have someone like Anthony Rocco Martin, who's a great jiu-jitsu practitioner who tapped him out, or someone like Kevin Lee, he was just physically strong and a great wrestler, took him down and ground and pounded him. When he runs into someone that's really nasty at something, he runs into a little bit of an issue. And that leads us to Jeremiah Wells. He is a training partner, as the aforementioned Sean Brady. So not only is he taking this fight, and he has someone that bullies people, and that's what Matthews seems to struggle with. Jeremiah Wells is a tank. I mean, look at the dude. He is a tank, and he just bull rushes you, and you are in some trouble. He's 35. This is not a kid. This is a grown man coming at you with everything he has. I mean, look at his wins. I mean, knockout on the feet. He has submissions by rear naked choke, knockouts. He's all over the place here. Generally has pretty good cardio. He's even been in 5-round fights before, which is super nice to see in regards to his cardio. He did slow down a lot in his UFC debut against Warley Alves, but that I could chalk that up to UFC jitters. He's not generally a gasser, and he ended up winning the fight anyway. In the second round, he came in and he knocked him out in the second round. So he won me money then, and I think he can do it again. His jiu-jitsu is good. Again, he trains with Sean Brady every day. Like, the dude has good jiu-jitsu. He's a black belt himself. His striking isn't the greatest, but he hits like a fucking truck, and he has a 3-inch reach advantage. And it's not like Jake Matthews is some sort of world-class boxer. He came from CFFC, which is one of my favorite regional scenes you can go to. The dude is explosive. His experience, not the greatest. He hasn't fought a ton of great guys here. But again, this is no fault of his own. I like the kid a lot. I actually think I'm going to make him one of my underdog plays of the week, and I think he's a lot of people's underdog plays. So you have someone that bullies people going up against someone that can continually get bullied, and the bully has a friend who already bullied the guy you're fighting. I'm going to take Jeremiah Wells as the pick, and I'm going to bet him this a dog, plus 160, plus 150 dog. Line me up. I'm taking them ASAP. The next fight, sketchy, man. We got Brian Barberena going up against Darian Weeks. They just released this line. This is another short notice one. I know it's a lot closer than I expected it to be. I think Weeks was only like a plus 110 dog or something like that. It was very close. The way it was lined, I just don't really know what to do with that. I don't know what the over-under is going to be, probably 2.5, but I don't know. Barberena said that he was thinking about retiring. I never bet retiring fighters. He came back and he looked okay, and then he lost a fight that he wasn't supposed to, and that's just part of the retirement curse. He lost to Jason Witt, and everyone thought he was like a minus 250 favorite, and it was like still not even plus money for him to get a knockout against Jason Witt, who was the easiest man to knock out in the UFC. But at the same time, Brian Barberena said the R word. He said retire, and you never look the same when you say that. And now he's back again. And he was supposed to fight Matt Brown. Matt Brown is like 45 years old. Like that was a good fight for someone that was considering retirement, someone that needs to retire. Perfect fight. But Matt Brown is no longer fighting, and now he gets a young gun in Darian Weeks. The complete opposite. You had a chiseled vet that you were going up against that is a little over the hill. Now you have a young lion who's hungry as could be, but not a lot of experience. Barberena's he's good on the feet. Wrestling isn't the greatest. He only has like 50% takedown defense. Not the greatest. He's not the worst on the ground, but that's not where he wants to be. I don't know. You look at his competition, though. I mean, yeah, he lost to Jason Witt, but he also fought Randy Brown. Who's a top 10 guy. He fought Sante Luque. He's about to fight for the title. He fought Leon Edwards, who is about to fight for the title. He fought Colby Covington, former champion. Like, he's fighting the best of the best here. So he beats everyone shitty. Anthony Ivy no longer with the promotion. Jake Ellenberger no longer with the promotion. Joe Proctor no longer with the promotion. Warley Alves somehow still here. And Sage Northcutt no longer with the promotion. Joe Ellenberger no longer with the promotion. Beats all those guys. But then he loses to everyone that's still here. But everyone he loses to is nasty. So where does he fall? What does he do? That takes us to his opponent in Brandon Weeks. I know nothing about. I've only seen like 3 fights of what I could see, and it was very terrible quality. very low level opponents. The dude was supposed to fight on Contender Series and then got hurt or sick or something, and now he's just getting thrown to Brian Barberena. What I can say about the little footage I could find is that he's predominantly a striker. I believe he has a professional boxing fight on here. He's like 1-on-1 in pro boxing. He has a ton of amateur fights on here, which is very interesting. Usually you see a few amateur fights and they go pro. This dude, God, how long was he an amateur? This dude had his first amateur fight in 2016, and he fought amateur for about 2 years, which is the normal time, but he got a ton of fights in that time frame. Jesus. God. So that's good that he's a lot more experienced than he's showing in the 5-0. But he just looks like an explosive striker. Barberena is going to want to strike. So I think I'm going to blindly take Weeks here as the pick and bet, just solely on the fact that Barberena is a little older. He has a lot of fight miles, and he's talking about retirement. Weeks is young. He's explosive, and he wants to strike too. So give me the young explosive guy in a stand-up battle. Call it a day. I'm not telling you to bet it. I'm not telling you to pick it. Just if gun to my head, that's the route I would go. All right. Then next fight of the night is a good one, man. We have Manel Kape as a minus 220 favorite going up against my boy, Zhalgas Zhumagulov. I love Zhalgas, man. I remember Zhalgas. We'll start with him. Zhalgas is a plus 170 dog. Manel Kape plus 220. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 162. Under 2.5 plus 132. I remember Zhalgas from the very first event after COVID. I think he was the very, very first fight. And he fought Julian Paiva. And that was a fight, man. His debut, that was quite a fight. He came in and he looked good. I thought it was a robbery. Most people judged it for Zhalgas there, but it was very close. I can see the Paiva route. I can totally see how he won. So I'm not screaming robbery by any chance. This dude's good. He's just tiny. It's not his fault. He's another one of these guys that if there is a weight class lower, he could potentially fight for a title. There's a 115-pound men's weight class. He'd probably be champ, but there's not. So he's just a little itty bitty flyweight trying to do his best. He's fought a lot of top tier guys. He lost to Amir Albazi his next fight. Amir is good. He's so underrated. Like no one realizes how good that guy really is. Then he just absolutely shit on Jerome Rivera, which everyone should. Did what he was supposed to do. He choked him out on the feet with a standing guillotine after blitzing him. But in his regional scene, I mean, Ali Bogdanov, good fighter. It was a split decision. A lot of people thought Ali won. Hey, it is what it is. Tagir, great fighter. A lot of people said that was a robbery. I didn't personally see it, so it is what it is. Tyson Nam, good fighter. All of these are people that are in the UFC or should be, and they're good fighters. And he's coming out here and he's getting wins. So yeah, I think the Piper fight he won and lost, but that balances out some of the other ones that people thought were questionable. But there is a common theme here. Decision. He is a decision machine outside of Jerome, who is just ass. Otherwise, you look at Manel Kape, and he is the opposite. This dude is big for the weight class. He actually was 4 pounds over his last time out against Odi Osborne. This dude gets a shit ton of knockouts. He was destroying people over in the overseas in one championship. Otherwise, his level of competition, I mean, he fought who he could over there. He came over here and fought Pantoja, who's about to fight for a title, basically. So that's a tough debut. And he looked okay. He just wouldn't throw. He was very hesitant. It could have been UFC jitters. He came out against Nicolau and threw a little more. And I thought he won the fight, but the judges gave it to Nicolau. I had money on Nicolau, so I'm okay with it. But I do think that Manel Kape won, but he cost himself. Again, it was close because he didn't throw enough. He threw more, but it's a flyweight fight. These guys are throwing strikes out left and right. You have to keep pace. Odi Osborne, he was kind of getting boat raced again, but then he came out and hit this phenomenal flying knee and put Odi out. A lot of people will say Odi wasn't out. His eyes rolled back. Even if it's a split second, you have to protect the fighter. I thought it was a good stoppage. And at that juncture, yeah, a good knockout win there because Odi's pretty good. But again, that's a knockout. Takeya Muzugaki, knockout. You look at him against Ito, left body hook, knockout. That's how he wins. Rear naked choke. Like, that's how he wins. So you have someone that's only been knocked out one time in their entire career and can't finish you, going up against someone that has to pretty much knock you out or they're losing all these decisions. Eesh. I don't like the odds. I think they should be lined a little closer here. I do like Zalgas as a dog play, but I think what I like more is to just pick Cop to win. Because again, it's going to be volume versus power again. It's going to be quality versus quantity again in this fight. And I don't know which way the judges are going to score it, but I will say judges again. I think this fight goes to decision. Is going to be one of my total plays. The over 2.5 is definitely the way I would attack this and bet this fight. Then the next fight of the night, we're just on our dog train, baby. We have Maki Pitolo at plus 135 going up against Dusko Todorovic. And I cannot stand Dusko. Dusko is minus 170, Maki at plus 135. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 172, under 1.5 plus 142. Let's start with this motherfucker, Dusko. He is not good. I don't care what they say. Yes, he beat Michel Pereira in the regional scene. Whoop-de-doo. I love Michel Pereira. Run it back then. And again, that was at 185. Michel Pereira has continually fought at 170 in the UFC, so not as impressive when you beat someone at a weight class above. Otherwise, this dude, again, he has great striking. He has decent power to start, but I can't stand the way he fights, man. His hands are so low. And you can't have low hands and have tall man defense at the same time. You're not going to win. You are going to get knocked out. And this dude came in 10-0, confident, invincible. And Soriano put the lights out like 10 times in that first round. Yeah, it's going to say he got knocked out with 12 seconds left. This dude was knocked out within the first minute and just kept coming back to life. So he is, I guess, to an extent durable since he kind of bounced back. I think a lot of that is just youth. I mean, the kid's only 27 years old. So he's got youth on his side, but this chin right here is just asking how his hands are on this rope. It's higher than his hands are in the fight. They are like below his hip. And I can't stand the way he fights. You can't be a chinny fighter and fight with your hands down. It doesn't work like that. It's 50% takedown defense. So if you want him to the ground, you can probably take him there. And his jiu-jitsu, looking at his record, not like I see a ton of submission wins here. I see a guillotine and a rear naked choke. He wants to knock you out. So, hey, not a lot of great things here. He does have high volume. I'll give him that. It's really high volume, but he gets hit a lot too. He gets hit just as much. Like if you land 7 significant strikes per minute and you get hit 7, like that's not good. That's not a good ratio. So it is what it is. I think he could be good if he kept his hands up and had better takedown defense. I don't hate the kid by any means, and I respect everything he does, but I hate betting on him. I also aren't the biggest fan of betting on coconut bombs and Maki. I mean, you can't get tapped out by Darren Stewart and leave anyone confident. God, he was supposed to be the next big thing, but first and foremost, he was supposed to be the next big thing at welterweight, and he said he couldn't make the cut anymore. He had to go up to middleweight, and that's where he's struggling. I just don't think he's big enough. Yeah, he got a knockout win over Charles Byrd, who... I mean, Darren Stewart getting choked out. It's fine to lose to Darren Stewart. Getting choked out in the first round is not a good look. Impa Kasadane is not the worst fighter in the world, but I mean, you're supposed to be the real deal, and then you kind of got outclassed there. Julian Marquez is underrated. I think he's very good, but he was actually winning that fight, in all honesty. He was up 2 rounds, but then Maki gassed and then he tapped him out. And was it that he was just up 2 rounds, or was it that Julian didn't really have anything off his back? Because the first round, one of the rounds he took him down, I can't remember. The other round was kind of more of like a slip, and then he capitalized. It's not like he just went out there, put a singlet on and dominated. There was a slip somewhere in there as well. And once Julian was on his back, he wasn't getting up. And that's all credit to Maki. Kept him down there and punished him. That's what you're supposed to do. But he gassed and then he got choked out. So obviously the jiu-jitsu is a little bit of an issue if you're getting choked out in half of your UFC losses. His volume's okay. He's just tiny. So is he going to be able to put out Dusko with his low hand self? His power's okay. coconut bombs for a reason. He likes to counter, and Dusko will throw. So he could definitely just cold cock him in the middle of one of the combinations. Or he could try to take him down and beat him the way he beat Marquez until the last 40 seconds of the fight. Either way, he has multiple routes to win. So I'm going to pick him as the dog. I'm going to pick him to win, and I'm going to pick him as the dog. I don't mind the over with it being 1.5 here. If he's going to take the ground and pound method, I don't think he's going to ground and pound him and finish him on the ground like that. Yeah, I'll take Maki as the pick, and I'd probably bet. Honestly, I think a lot of these are going to hit the over. I'll take the over for that fight. You can bet Maki and get plus money, or you can try to be a little safer and do the over 1.5. All right, and then the next fight is where I disagree with a lot of analysts, and I think it is the lock of all locks. We have Alex Moreno at minus 245 going up against Mickey Gall at plus 185. Over 2.5 is minus 182. Under 2.5 is plus 147. We'll start with Alex Moreno, who is by far the man I hate the most in the UFC. I cannot fucking stand Alex Moreno. He just looks annoying to me, and I don't like his nickname, the Great White. I'm not trying to be that guy. I just can't stand the name. The Great White what? Shark? Throw something at the end of that. I don't like the Great White. It pisses me off. I don't like his haircut. He looks like he needs to have hair, and he can grow hair, but he's bald anyway. It pisses me off. I can't stand when people are wrestlers or specialists in the area and don't use it. This dude is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, like to the second degree. This dude is nuts on the ground, one of the best on the ground in the welterweight division, and does not take you down. He did not shoot his first takedown until last year. He shot a takedown against Reese McKee. That was his first shot in the UFC. This dude has been in the UFC since 2016. He went 4 years as a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt before he took a shot. I don't like that. That's just stupid. Like, he's stupid. But he has good pressure. His striking is not good. It's all about the pressure, but he's very, very good at that. Great jiu-jitsu if it ever hits the ground. He's been shooting recently, which is credit to him. But his wrestling doesn't seem to be the greatest. Also, I noticed when he does wrestle, he does gas out a little more. Generally, he doesn't have any issues with his gas tank. But the fights where he did wrestle, the Reese McKee fight, the Anthony Pettis fight, he did start the gas. And Anthony Pettis is my favorite fighter. So I was shitting bricks when he was fighting Morono, because my favorite fighter lost to the person I hated the most. That would be an issue. He has really good volume, Morono. He's not a bad fighter by any means. All the respect in the world to him. Just change your name and like smile once in a while. I also don't like the fact that he's fighting at welterweight. I think he can make 55 if he truly wanted to. And I think he could bully people at 55. I think he would be a great 155-pound fighter. But it looks like he doesn't want to cut weight. So that's just another thing. He's a little chinny. He is chinny, even though he's like only been knocked out by Chaos Williams. I think that's the only time he's been knocked out. He gets rocked a lot. No, he got knocked out early in his career. He has a win because of biting. This dude, I can't stand this dude. But yeah, I mean, even the Pettis fight, he got spinning wheel kicked and he was wobbled. He was doing the stanky leg. Like, let's not get a twist. Reese McKee rocked him. He gets rocked every fight. So he is a little chinny. Even though he doesn't get knocked out all the time, he gets wobbled all the time. And that concerns me. But he's fighting Mickey Gall, who is god awful. Oh my God. Mickey Gall is a phenomenal UFC fighter when he's fighting WWE wrestlers and news reporters. That's what CM Punk and that's what freaking what was his name? Mike Jackson are. Literally, they're not actual fighters. He fought Sage Northcutt. Sage Northcutt was like 19 and he's awful anyway. Randy Brown beat the shit out of him. I don't know why they gave him the Randy Brown. He beat George Sullivan, someone I've never heard of and is no longer in the promotion. He lost to welterweight Diego Sanchez in 2019. And he got ground and pounded. You got finished by like 40-year-old Diego Sanchez. That's not good. He bounced back with a win over Salim Tajiri, who then he got beat in a stand-up affair. Mike Perry is not good on the feet. He's a great grappler, not good on the feet. And Mike Perry beat the shit out of him. not beat the shit out of him. It was closer than that. But he didn't have a corner. His pregnant girlfriend was his cornerman. So he went out there and just fought. He didn't train. He came in overweight. Like Mike Perry, who didn't train and didn't have a corner, came out and beat you. That's sad, man. Then you come out and you starch Jordan Williams, who has diabetes and is no longer in the promotion. He beat a diabetic, a journalist, two people I've never heard of, and a professional wrestler. This dude, he's not UFC caliber. He is getting better. His striking looked great against Jordan Williams. He only had one punch, but he landed it when he needed to. That overhand was hitting, but he's very, very hittable. He gets hit more than he dishes out. He does not have good wrestling. He has a good ground game, but Alex Morono is a second-degree black belt. So you're not better on the feet, you're not better on the ground, and you're not the better wrestler. What the fuck do you have? You're bigger, but you have no gas tank. So this is the easiest fight of the night. The lock of all locks. Give me Alex Morono, who I can't stand. And he's probably going to be the anchor in all of my parlays. I'm going to root for Alex Moreno for the first time in my life. And I'm going to feel terrible doing it. This is going to be the time when Mickey comes out and starches on watch. And then I'm going to have another reason to not like Alex Moreno. Then that takes us to the main card. And I want to remind you, over on Instagram, over on Twitter, over on TikTok, at Spats and Stacks, we do put our official picks up there. We do post videos. And I think I actually just put them out before going on to and doing the pod for the first time, just kind of see how that works out. So don't forget about that and to look at the official picks. They might change after weigh-ins. Weigh-ins are really big for me. So if things look a little shaky on the scales, you might see some adjustments to those official picks. But we're on to the main card. And we have Brendan Allen as a minus 345 favorite. Biggest favorite on the card, going up against Action Man Chris Curtis at plus 260. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 182, under 1.5 plus 147. We'll start with Brandon all in Allen. I like Brendan Allen. I don't like the mullet he has going currently. Can't stand that. But I do like that he's young and at Sanford. And I'm telling you, like, he's been at Sanford his last 3 fights. And he has, if you haven't noticed, he has wins. Okay, so he lost to Sean Strickland and then he went over. So I do apologize. His last 2 fights against Carl Roberson and Soriano, and he looks like a completely new fighter. Because before, Brendan Allen was great on the ground. He didn't have the greatest wrestling. It was okay, but it wasn't the greatest. And he had no stand-up. Since he moved over to Sanford and started working with Henry Hoof, his striking looked good. And that fight against Paulo Soriano was predominantly on the feet. So that was impressive. He hits hard. He's getting a lot more precise working over there with good guys over there. Again, his jiu-jitsu is his bread and butter. So if he can get you down to the ground, if he gets on top of Chris Curtis is in some trouble. He is hittable, but again, a lot of that was prior to him moving to Sanford. That's kind of what prompted him moving to Sanford, in all honesty. So I do like him a lot. But one of his training partners, one of his main training partners is Phil Hawes. And Phil Hawes just recently, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, just lost to a man named Action Man Chris Curtis. And Chris Curtis here is filling in on short notice. I know that Allen was originally supposed to fight Brad Tavares, which would have been a great step up, great fight. Brad pulled out, and then he was going to fight Roman Dolidze. I loved Roman Dolidze. Do you want me to submit him? I love that guy. That's a completely different fight. Roman's a grappler. But then Roman pulled out. So now we have Chris Curtis stepping in again saying, oh, I already whooped your partner's ass. I knocked out your partner. Let me take you out. And here's the crazy thing. This is camp versus camp because Chris Curtis is at Extreme Couture. And you know who his main training partner is? Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland is the last man to beat Brendan Allen. So this is a little camp rivalry that we have going on here. Action Man from Cincinnati, Ohio. Shout out Bearcats. Right now, he has really good striking. This dude is one of the best knockouts you'll ever see. He was on the Contender Series. He broke his arm. He literally broke his arm and was fighting with one arm and knocked someone out with a spinning wheel kick because he didn't have 2 arms. Like, that is one of the most badass stories I've ever heard. And he's super durable, great striking, good power, great counters, high volume. There's one major issue here, and that leaves me a little bit of hesitancy. He's a welterweight. He's not a middleweight. He can take this fight on a week's notice because this isn't his weight class. He can moonlight at middleweight. He just won at middleweight, knocked out Phil Hawes. Like, he's fine at middleweight, but that power translates a lot more at welterweight. I like him a lot better there. Luckily, they have the same reach. He has some long ass arms too. This dude is 5'10", and they have the same reach. And Brendan Allen's like 6'4". So he's got these go-go gadget arms, which will help him a ton at welterweight, having a massive reach advantage being a striker. I don't like him as much as middleweight. I think Brendan Allen is a very good fighter. I think Chris Curtis is a very good fighter. Sean Strickland will be in the corner. Sean Strickland does say some absolutely ludicrous things, and he will be talking. Sean Strickland will be talking about how he just knocked out Brendan Allen during Brendan Allen's fight. Going to be a little mental warfare going on there. I think this is almost a pick 'em. If you want to say anything, I think it should be Allen as like a minus 150 favorite. Minus 345 is just completely disrespectful. Chris Curtis is the man. I love Chris Curtis. And you can call it a little bit of a simp bet, but my pick is going to be Allen. But if you're giving me plus 260, and it's going up, I've seen it as high as plus 280 earlier today. If you're giving me all of that value on Chris Curtis, I'm not going to say no. I'm going to say thank you. And the bet would be Chris Curtis. Don't throw it in parlays or anything. Just take the dog shot on Chris because he is a good fighter. There's good fighter versus good fighter, wrong weight classes, but Chris is a good wrestler. Like defensive wrestler, and Allen's not the greatest offensive wrestler. On a 50-50 stand-up affair, and one of them is plus 260, give me that guy. And then that takes us to Leonardo Santos going up against Clay Guida. Santos minus 195, Guida plus 155. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 190, under 2.5 plus 150. Let's go ahead and start with Santos and make this quick because we've been talking for a minute here. Santos is phenomenal jiu-jitsu practitioner, great black belt. Wrestling is whatever. It's all right. It's not the greatest. He hits like a fucking truck, but he is hittable. He does get hit more than he throws, and part of that is because he is kind of low volume. But again, 89% takedown defense, so he can dictate where the fight's going to take place. He does have a 5-inch reach advantage against Clay Guida. He has all of the advantages. My concern is his cardio. He has a round and a half of cardio, and then it gets sketchy. It gets real sketchy. The dude is 41 years old. He does not fight frequently. In fact, this fight between Grant Dawson and Clay Guida has happened in 2021. Both are in 2021, twice in the same year. The last time he fought twice in the same year, 2015. He has not fought two fights in a year in the same year in 6 years. This isn't what he normally does. So that is a little, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I have not the slightest clue, but I do know he's 41 and he does not have good cardio. Clay Guida doesn't have good striking. So you want to say a striking advantage? Definitely going to be Santos there. The wrestling advantage, I think Guida can take him down. I really do. It will take a lot of attempts, but luckily Guida has literally like the best cardio I've ever seen in a fighter ever. He's also low volume. He's also very hittable. Is he chinny? I don't know. You can rock him. He doesn't go out cold ever. You can club and sub him. I've seen it on multiple occasions. So that is live here. Which is probably why Santos is like minus 200. But I look at Clay Guida, and the big thing all the experts are saying is he's been subbed 11 times. He's been subbed 11 times. Santos, black belt. Santos, black belt. Look at the way he's been subbed. Jim Miller, guillotine choke. He clubbed and subbed him. He rocked Clay Guida and then hopped on a guillotine. Charles Oliveira, guillotine when Clay was shooting in. Brian Ortega knocked him out. Thiago Tavares, guillotine when Clay was shooting in. And I think he rocked the first two there. Rear naked choke, Dennis Bermudez, he was on his back. Chad Mendez punches, Gray Maynard split, Benson Henderson. Kenny Florian, rear naked choke, he rocked him and then he got his back. You look at Roger Huerta, rocked him and then he got his back. The thing is with Leo Santos, I don't know what his offensive wrestling looks like because he doesn't do it. So in order for Leo to win, with a bad gas tank, he's going to have to knock out Clay clean, which Clay does not just go out clean like ever. Just look at his record. Or he's going to have to take him down and get his back. The only other route is Clay shooting for a takedown and Santos just guillotining him. I look at wrestling two different ways. You can say someone's a good wrestler, but there's a difference between Greco-Roman wrestling and freestyle wrestling. Someone that wants to do upper body like judo throws, someone that wants to shoot in on the legs. Wrestling is different, and it makes a difference in fights. Leo Santos submission wins. I do not see one where someone shot in and he just took their back or he just guillotined them. I'm looking at his wins here. He has some knockout wins. He has some rear naked chokes where he took them down and submitted them. I don't see him taking down Clay Guida, and I don't see any guillotines on his record. So if Clay shoots in, he does leave his neck out there all the time. But if Clay just takes him down, I also don't see anywhere he submitted anyone off his back. I'm looking at his wins here. Rear naked choke, knockout. Arm triangle, he's on top. Arm triangle, he's on top. Rear naked choke, he's on his back. He doesn't have any submissions off his back. So if Clay is able to take him down and stay safe and tire him out, I don't think a gas Santos is going to win. So I say, fuck Vegas, fuck all the experts. I think Clay Guida is going to win this fight. And I think it's just a matter of how Santos fights. It's not, if Clay Guida takes him down, he's in trouble. I don't care that he's a black belt. The dude is 41 years old and he's never submitted anyone off his back. Literally. If he gets a reversal, Clay is fucked. If he knocks him out early, Clay is fucked. You're giving me plus 60 on Clay, who wants to wrestle and take you down, going against someone who's never got a submission off their back. Give me the dog. I'm going to pick Clay, and I'm going to fucking bet Clay Guida at age 39, who turns 42. So two 40-year-olds, but give me the better wrestler. Give me the better cardio. And going from the two of the oldest guys in the UFC to two of the youngest guns, man. We have Jamal Hill plus 150 going up against Jimmy Crute minus 190. Over 1.5 is minus 115. Under 1.5 minus 115. Just straight pick them. Let's go ahead and we're gonna start with Jimmy the Brute Crute. He training with Jake Matthews this fight, which is good to have someone else on the card. He has good striking. He has some decent power. He's super durable. Good jiu-jitsu, good wrestling, good cardio. Dude goes forward. There's nothing wrong with Jimmy Crute. Literally, I can't think of one negative about him, except for one thing, his fight IQ, because he wants to beat you where he's not supposed to. It's like he gets in his head that he's unstoppable, and he wants to prove that he's better than you at everything. Look at his wins. His win against Modestas Bukakas. Bukakas is a striker. Could he take him down and tap him out? Absolutely. What does he do? He knocks him out. Mikey O. What does he do? He bull rushes you, and then he just pounds you, or he submits you into oblivion. He took down Mikey O right away. Went forward, took him down, and just beat the shit out of him in round one. He got caught in the weirdest submission ever against Misha Serkinov. You don't see Peruvian neckties often. He was just thrown off guard again. The kid, that was 2019. He was 23 years old. He caught a 23-year-old kid. And again, I didn't even mention the Anthony Smith loss. You ever see when their leg cuts off? We saw it against Michael Chandler, against Brent Primus had it where his leg kind of just shut off. What was the other one? You just see that very seldomly, once in a while, you'll see where they hit the right nerve and there's just like a nerve that's just taken down and they can't move. That's what happened. People are going to say that he should have just wrestled Anthony Smith. He took him down. He was 3 for 3 with takedowns. Yes, but Anthony Smith is a grappler by trait. He's not a striker by trait. I think it would have been close on the feet. I think that Jimmy Crute was losing on the feet and then was going to come in the next round and just take him down. But I think in that time where he was trying out the stand-up, you can't say he has poor fight IQ because he didn't take down Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith is a jiu-jitsu practitioner. That's where he's most comfortable. He just has fallen in love with knocking out everyone. And I think people forget that that's not his go-to. He was jabbing Jimmy Crute to death. He wasn't hurting him. He wasn't knocking him out. He was just jabbing him and just outclassing him. And I think Jimmy Crute would have shot takedowns then. But we'll never know because his leg shut off. But you look at Sam Alvey, known as a knockout puncher. He knocked him out. Paul Craig is the best jiu-jitsu practitioner in the division. and he submitted Paul Craig. This dude wants to beat you where he's not supposed to. Jamal Hill has one path to victory, and that is on the feet. And that petrifies me that Jimmy Crute may try to strike with Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill is not good. Jamal Hill is overrated. Jamal Hill is a phenomenal striker. That's where he'll beat you. And he has great, ungodly like cardio. This dude has great cardio, good striking. That's what he has. Super high volume, very, very durable. He has a 5-inch reach advantage against Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute, for the love of God, do not go out there and strike with Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill's jiu-jitsu game, very questionable. He's a blue belt, not his fault. Hasn't been doing it long. But if you want to beat him, you take him down and you tap him out. And it's apparently not that difficult, considering, Darko. Was it Darko? Yeah. Darko Stosic took him down like 6 times. That's a lot of times to be taken down. I mean, he still ended up winning the fight, but that's Darko on top of you. If Jimmy Crute's on top of you, the man who can submit Paul Craig, that's a little bit of an issue. And speaking of the devil, they do have a similar opponent in Paul Craig, and Paul Craig took it to the ground and tapped him out with ease. If this thing hits the ground, and Jimmy Crute has like 50% takedown offense, that's a high number. Anything over like 25-30% when you shoot a decent amount is very good. This dude's at like 50%. When he shoots, he gets it. That's not good for Jamal Hill. But I don't think Jimmy Crute's going to do it. I think Jimmy Crute's going to try to stand the first round and then take him down. So how hard-headed is Jimmy Crute is how this fight comes down to. And I look at Jamal Hill, someone I don't really believe in. I think he's a great fighter. I just think he's one-dimensional. And I see plus 150. And I see Jimmy Crute with a mullet now. I can't trust the mullet. That just screams bad decisions. I don't think his decision-making has gotten any better. So I will pick Jimmy Crute to win because he can win like 3 or 4 different ways. But if I'm putting any money on the fight, it's going to be Hill. And I'm getting plus money. That's just the way it's got to be. All right. And then the next fight is the co-main event of the evening. We have the people's main event. We have Brad Riddell as an even money dog going up against Rafael Fiziev at minus 130. Over 2.5 minus 215. Under 2.5 plus 165. Love it. Love it. I've chosen like 6 dogs already. Let's just make it 7, baby. We got Brad Riddell. Great striking. He is pillow-fisted, but he's super durable. He has great cardio. His takedown defense, not the greatest, but Fiziev's not going to wrestle, so it doesn't matter. And he does throw wrestling in there once in a while of his own, just to kind of switch things up and keep you guessing. I do love that. I think that's a phenomenal trait for a striker to mix in wrestling. That way you never know what's happening. He's great at countering, or he can go forward. This dude is just a dog on the feet. Jiu-jitsu game, a little questionable. He only has 1 career loss. It is by submission. But again, not Fiziev's game. This is striker versus striker. And it is striker versus striker who know each other. They've trained with each other. Fiziev and they were both at Tiger Muay Thai at one point in Brad Riddell. Fiziev, he's a great striker in all honesty. I'm pretty sure he was the striking coach at Tiger Muay Thai. That's people trained like Mazar Emoev. That's Peter Yan, all training over at Tiger Muay Thai at that time. Like that's to be training those guys striking. That's impressive. This guy is a phenomenal striker. He has great power, 100% takedown defense. So I don't know if Brad's going to try to mix it in or not. He has great movement, man. This dude is fluid. This dude looks good. He has great body kicks. He does work the body. He does have good counters as well, but they're both strikers. They can either counter or go forward, whichever way they want to do the damn thing, they both can. My only concern is his cardio. He does gas, and he showed it more than once. The Bobby Green fight is the most proficient. It's his latest one. I understand, but he did gas in the Mark Diakase fight. He did gas in the Alex White fight. The second half of that 3rd round, he's toast. The first half of that 3rd round, he's questionable. And then the 2nd round, like towards the end, is where he slows. So he usually wins the first 2 and just gives you the 3rd because he's tired. Brad Riddell's a great striker, and they know each other. They've struck with each other before. And generally speaking, when you have two strikers that struck with each other a lot, it goes the distance. That's just what happens. So I really do like the over here. It is sitting at minus 215 though. So a lot of people like the over here. I do think it's the safest pick. But if you're giving me a 50-50 fight and one guy does mix in wrestling occasionally, I'll take Brad. Honestly, it's another volume. And that's the other thing. Raphael's also hittable. He's very hittable. He'll dish it out like crazy, but he's durable and you can hit him back. He has been knocked out before by a spinning back kick. That was just craziness. But it's very seldom you'll knock this guy out. That's the only time it's ever happened. It happens. No one's invincible. But he will take a shot to give his heart a shot. So this is another volume versus power ordeal. And if you're telling me in all these fights, one of these judges are going to, at one of these times, these fighters are going to go to the people that hit more opposed to who hits harder. And that could be Brad at even money. So I'll take Brad as the pick. And he's going to be one of my dog plays of the night. And then that takes us to the main event. Again, please show the video some love, hitting a like, going over on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and just following. All the support does help a ton. That's going to take us to Jose Aldo versus Rob Font. Great main event here. Font minus 150, Aldo plus 120. Over 4.5 is minus 150, under 4.5 plus 120. Let's start with Rob Font. Rob Font loves to go forward. Rob Font has good cardio. Rob Font has great boxing. Rob Font has high volume. Rob Font has 50% takedown defense. Yeesh. But he has okay jiu-jitsu. It's getting better. And he does have some finishes. But there is a little bit of a caveat on there. There's a little bit of a twist, a little bit of a catch. He knocked out, Rob Font knocked out Marlon Moraes, who has one of the worst chins in the division currently. Rob Font knocked out Thomas Almeida, who has notoriously had one of the worst chins in the division. Rob Font knocked out Matt Schnell, who notoriously has one of the worst chins in the division, and it's a flyweight now. Rob Font knocked out George Roop, who is known as having one of the worst chins in the division at the time. He knocked out Joey Gomez. I don't know who that is. So you're sensing a common theme here. He's knocking out people that are known for getting knocked out. Then his other wins, he's getting a guillotine over Douglas Silva de Andrade is more impressive than people will give credit. That's very impressive. Sergio Pettis is an absolute stud. Again, Anthony Pettis is my favorite fighter. Sergio, obviously, I like as well. That's a great win. Ricky Simone, probably the best wrestler in the division. He has 50% takedown defense, and that did skew the number fighting Ricky Simone. But to get the win, that's gutty. I love it. I love Rob Font. I think he's a phenomenal fighter. I think that if he wins this fight, he needs to fight for the title. And does he stand the chance against Peter Yan? He stands a chance. Peter Yan's a fucking tank. But and who knows? Maybe it's all Joe there. We'll see. But Rob Font's a dog. I love Rob Font. I think he will always be a top 5 bantamweight. I think he's that good. Problem is, a lot of his losses did happen when he took a step up. And Jose Aldo is technically a step up. Jose Aldo is 30-7. This dude, although they're basically the same age and fight miles are not, he is a little worn down, but he's not really showing that. Like, the last time he's been finished was against Peter Yan. And Peter Yan, again, is a different breed. Otherwise, Jose Aldo's 91% takedown defense. Font's not going to shoot a takedown anyway. Jose Aldo is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He does have a Jiu-Jitsu edge here. He hasn't got a takedown since who's the last person he took down? I don't know why I can't think of the name right now. Let's just take a look. Ricardo Lamas in 2014. God, he hasn't taken anyone down in 7 years. So I don't know if Rob Font has to worry about that too much right now. But he does have sneaky good wrestling, really good jiu-jitsu that just never gets put on display. He is a little hittable. He gets hit as much as he gives out, but he has not as much volume either. Rob Font's high volume, but he has great striking. You can back him up a little, and Rob Font does like to go forward, but Aldo likes to counter. So I don't know. I think this fight's very, very close. Aldo, he keeps proving me wrong at bantamweight, so I don't want to fade him. I understand Font being the favorite, and I'm going to pick him to win. but I think this has decision and split decision written all over it. This is another one where I think Font's going to land more, but Aldo's going to hit harder. It's going to be another one of those. So in that instance, I think the judges are going to get involved. So give me the distance. I think this is going to be a long ass card. There are 15 fights, and a lot of them are going to go to distance. Minus 150 is good value. So I'll take Rob Font to win. I'll just say the fight goes distance. The over 4.5. Make it even more simple. And that's UFC Vegas 44, baby. It's really just, it should be called UFC Vegas 44 volume versus power, because that's what all these fights are going to come down to. And all in all, as a pick, see, Brad is 1, Jamal Hill 2, Clay Guida 3, Chris Curtis 4, Maki Patola 5, Darian Week 6, Jeremiah Wells 7. I have 7 underdogs. So half the card, I think the underdogs are going to come through. It may not even be that. A lot of these are 50-50 to where any of these could happen. The Vince Morales could win. Ryan Barberina could win. So I don't know. We're all over the place. It's going to be an overall good card. I'm looking forward to it. Get all the money you can before Christmas, and let's just stockpile, baby. Make sure you give the video a like. Make sure you give all those media platforms a like, and make sure we make money this week, baby. Let's get it.